What up? It's D&D in the building. Purdue power. No ceiling. Yeah. Double D back, that's Derek and Dalton. Talking gold blood, Mackey been molten. Black and gold dreams, banners we folding. Paint crew loud, every rim gets swollen. Stats so clean, you think it's a scheme. History books get Purdue screen. From humble to E-Day, legends on replay. We run through March like it's just another weekday. Double the energy, talking that legacy. Boiler boys cooking, no recipe. Microphone magic, rivalry static. We breaking it down, keep it cinematic. You want the heat, better tune in fast.
Hello, welcome back to the Double D Podcast. My name is Derek, and as always, this is my co-host Dalton. Today, we do have on a very special guest, former big man Isaac Haas. Isaac, thank you for joining us today. We truly appreciate you hopping on here. We had some technical difficulties, so apologize for anybody that was waiting. If you watched, Purdue basketball in the late 2010s, you already know this man. One of the most dominant big men to ever wear the black and gold, a two-time Big Ten champion, fan favorite, a guy who helped anchor some of the best teams of the Purdue era under Matt Painter. So just to start out here, Isaac, update us on, your life now, what you're up to. Do you keep up with Purdue basketball still?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you first having me on. It's an honor to kind of help people who love Purdue, and obviously, I've just had a blast like getting to know everybody outside of the basketball world. So it's been awesome. For me, I definitely keep track of these guys. Unfortunately, my job is a little bit more demanding than I would like. So sometimes, you have to be paying attention to things other than the screen. But yeah, no, I do industrial real estate now. I'm a tenant rent broker down. I work at SRS Industrial, which is formerly Roger Staubach's company. When they had sold to DLL about 40 years ago, they kept the retail side, and the retail side is now one of the largest platforms in the country. But during COVID, obviously, a lot of retail doors closed. The industrial platform started picking up because everybody's still ordering, wanting things delivered to their door. You know the deal. So we had to have the logistics to handle that. So now SRS started their industrial team during COVID. So I think they're in year 4 now. I've been there for about 2 years, and we're growing the platform pretty well. Got some good things in the works for myself, but bought a house here in Dallas. Married, no kids yet, but 2 lovely dogs. I say lovely, but one of them is an absolute nightmare, and the other one's great. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
There it is. I'll jump in. First question, I guess, looking back, what was the biggest difference between playing with guys like AJ, early versus your later years with like Carson, Dakota, kind of the rise of the program? Those Purdue teams you were on, had incredible chemistry. What made your locker room, work so well?
Yeah, that's a great question, honestly. So our freshman year, obviously you don't really know anything you're doing. You're just kind of coming in with the intent to work hard and play harder, right? I think it's pretty standard thing any kid can walk in and say that. I would say that freshman year, playing with AJ, like there was a lot of teaching moments, right? And not necessarily like, face to face, like, hey, this is what you do. But I think it was more demonstrated. And not only through AJ, but through Coach Brantley. And I feel like he really needs his flowers. I think he's just like a hidden power guy for Purdue, and nobody really ever gives him the credit. But that dude just worked so hard, and he's just so good at developing the big guy. So relatable, personable. But when I dropped in, it was very much he was still active and banging on me a lot too. So if AJ was out or anyone else was out, like it was him. for places. So I never got a break really. But no, man, it was great. I would say, early on the cohesiveness came from Raphael Davis, right? So he had a real sickness of playing not so great at Purdue, and when he saw the kind of guys we had now and the potential that we had, so he really pushed us hard. And with that kind of direction, along with Josh Bonnetal, another guy who didn't really get his flowers at Purdue, I mean, just an absolute leader, really got those guys in the weight room, was teaching us leadership tactics from a young age. It was just like really, really ingrained in our program. So I really want to give him credit too. Still to this day, like such a good guy. I can reach out to him anytime, and he's more than happy to just hit me up. Yeah, so that cohesiveness early on and that intent and will to win kind of brought there. As the program and Painter, Greg Garrett, who I believe now is the head coach for Mercer, um, uh, Coach Lutz, Jack Owens, all these guys that were there, they just really invested in our guys. They really put in the work, and it showed, right? Like there's lots of individual training, there's a lot of team training, a lot of system training. It's collegiate sports, right? So you can just imagine the level and the detail that we're getting into now. This isn't high school basketball anymore where you just have like this one thing you're running and you just pray it works. And you have to be able to adapt on the go. Early on for me, it was a bit of a challenge because I came from small town Alabama. Like it was, not the level of basketball I was prepared to jump into in college, and that became very quickly aware to me, or made aware to me. So I needed to do lots of conditioning. It was I had a lot of baby fat still on me. I was like 310 maybe, but baby fat, right? And had bad eating habits, just all the above, man. Just really, really couldn't nail it down until about the end of the year. And then over the summer, man, lost a lot of weight. And then, the leadership was just continuing to be ingrained in us from Josh Bonnetal and from Brantley and from Painter and all these guys who are really putting a lot of investment into like the servant leadership platform. And that's just, man, it really, really works for us. When you just have a bunch of guys who have one mind and they're just ready to get after it, it's very, I would just say it was very successful. And then how obviously it just increased the more that you develop, the more that you spend time individually training, watching film, as you get older and your brain develops, like you start to notice patterns, you get used to kind of understand what's coming. Yeah, so that just kind of contributed to all of our success. And then obviously Purdue has taken what, Coach Painter, Bonhall, and Brantley and all of us that contributed to it early, and just exploded with that. So all credit to do that. We were just one of the guys to get it going.
Sweet, man. Going kind of alongside that, like when you first got to Purdue, you talked a little bit about, that welcome to the Big Ten moment. This isn't high school basketball anymore. Was there like a specific moment that you realized, okay, this is different? And then alongside that, like what, after you answer that, since it was kind of similar, like what made you pick Purdue to begin with? Like, were there other places you thought about going? Was Purdue always a goal of yours? And how did that all come to fruition?
For sure. So I'll start with like how I got there. So essentially by the grace of God alone, I was able to garner some college attention, and I could go into all that, but nobody wants to hear all that. It was just somehow getting noticed by one guy and then noticed by another guy, and you just kind of keep bumping up and whatever. And I did have interest in other places, so I had actually initially committed to Wake Forest. Tim Duncan and Chris Paul on my official visit. So
Wow.
Chris Paul at my time, I just thought he was so shifty, so cool. He was, the assist god, right? And then there was Tim Duncan, who was just my idol. And that was kind of beaten into my head from my dad, right? He was just a big Tim Duncan guy, fundamentals, basics. Um, and so when I got to meet them both and play with them, like, that was just such a special moment. I got the call from the AD after I committed and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that Jeff Bledsoe is no longer going to be here. I just want to let you be aware of that." And so because of that, obviously there was second thoughts, and so I obviously decommitted there. It was verbal commitment only, and then shortly after, I mean, he was no longer there. So outside of that, it was UAB, Texas A&M, UCLA, and Purdue. UAB obviously was close to home. Jared Haas, who's now, last time I'd seen him, I think he was at Stanford. I don't know what he does, where he is now. But Jared Haas was a great guy, had a great program going, great system, and he definitely had to get physical developing me and bringing me to an NBA level. The other guys were great options, but were not a good fit overall. And then Coach Painter was just the realest guy out there. I mean, I just thought he spoke the truth. He did not cut any corners or try to make me feel any better about myself. He was just like, "Hey, we got a guy. He's a beast, but you can outwork him. You can, you know, outcompete him at practice, and you do it every day, and then you do it in a game. Like, you can start over him." And I was like, "Okay." And I just took that, and obviously there was questions about development and whatnot, and he showed me the history of big men there, and obviously, they've taken that and just expanded upon it, right? So I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I've always just had that place in my heart for him. As for the wake up moment, I would say there was multiple. I think there was levels, right? You just have like these aha moments, like over and over and over again. The first one was the first practice when I when it wasn't even practice; it was individual training. So I have 1 hour on the court with Coach Brantley, and within the first 5 minutes, I was absolutely heaving, like just not throwing up, but like I couldn't breathe. I was sweating like crazy, and oh my gosh, if you want to hear some stories about how much I sweat during that time, any of the managers that were there, I mean, those guys, I owe them dinner anytime I see them, honestly. If they ever come to Dallas, please tell them to call me. I will literally buy them dinner. Like, I owe those guys a lot. They saved my butt a couple times. And that's just being, I'm trying to be kind to myself there. They saved me a bunch. Uh, outside of that, it was just like first wake up call like in the game setting. Wasn't necessarily like the exhibition or the non-conference. I think the biggest one for me was Frank Kaminsky at the time. Just absolutely torched me in every set the first time we played him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what? Like this is what it takes to be like, okay, all right, well, I've got a lot to learn. That was the first like real shock. Like, you play good guys and you have your teaching moments, your correction moments, and you kind of go through it and you figure it out. But that was the first like, oh my gosh, like this is what it takes to be great. And that was a really cool moment. I think the next time we played him, he still had a bunch with it, but I believe I played better.
I think he always had a bunch,
Yeah.
no matter what.
Better. I did. I want to say that, but you have to fact check me on that. Maybe it's just my own ego, pride, what I call it. But yeah.
Frank was goated. I mean, that era of the Big Ten was gnarly.
Oh,
Speaking on, Coach Paint, do you have any like favorite stories or coaching minute or moments that you really remember from him? Like we always hear about the painterisms and everything like that. Is there any just wild off the wall stories you can remember from practice or a game or something?
nothing wild or off the wall. I mean, sure, like when we lost to I believe it was North Florida at home before Christmas, and I believe that's right. He might have defended me on the name, but Dallas, I ended up playing with their point guard who cooked us. I ended up playing with him overseas in China, and he always had that over me, and I would get so mad. But he, I remember the practice. So we had lost, and then we had Christmas break, and then we came back. And this is my freshman year, I believe. Just the absolute most miserable practice ever. Nothing crazy like, you know, balls to the wall, like yelling in your face stuff, but it was just like, no, we don't lose here, and we definitely don't lose to a team like that. And a very matter of fact moment, and that was another aha moment. Um, and that's what gave us so much pride, you know, as a young group. And losing Maggie's Zoo, we didn't want to do that again. Second, uh, I believe it was my senior year, or it might have been my junior year, where Coach Painter looks at me and he says, "No one's gonna cry. No one's gonna help you. No one's gonna like." It was something I'm paraphrasing, but he was just like, "Suck it up, be a man, like get it done," and he did. And it wasn't just to me, he was talking to me, but
Right.
and I knew he was talking to me specifically in that moment. But I think everybody on the team took that, and they just, you know, we ended up winning that game. But it was a close game, if I'm not mistaken. It was at IU, and it was just one of those things. Well, they're not. Oh, that's what he said. He said, "They're not going to call a foul. You have to be a man, and you have to score this basket or something like that." And that was just a really cool moment. But it was also like, hey, all right, cool, all right, you know, run through
Yeah.
a whole moment, you know, and it was fun.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
A lot of Matt Painter moments out there. He's the master of like the the quote that goes viral. All right, March Madness is almost here. You had you know, obviously some March Madness greatness and some March Madness, you know, disappointments with the injury and stuff. But take us inside what a locker room looks like before a March Madness game. You know, and like how is that energy different compared to a regular season game? And like when you played, at least, who was the guy on the team that was getting the most hyped? Who was the guy that you were almost like, yo, bro, you need to chill out?
Uh, you know, I think to address your last question first, I would say there was never really anybody on our team specifically that was like just too much. Like there was just like too much energy, too much of anything. I think it was very much almost like everybody was too calm. I think it was like we knew what we had to do, and we knew that this was serious, and we all took it seriously, and it was all like a very quiet, locked in environment, not a lot of laughing and joking. um and I think it's just because every year, because of the diagnosis coming in was just not as successful, so we took that like to heart. Really, we really wanted it every time. And that, I'm sure that has not changed in any sense moving forward. Those guys are locked in from the moment they wake up that morning, you know, really the week before, just the entire week they're thinking about that first inning. Um, so I think it's, you know, in the March Madness setting, these guys, I'm going to speak to this team specifically because I've been watching a lot more of them this year. These guys, I think these guys are going to come in. They're going to be focused. They're going to be ready to go. There's some cohesiveness stuff that I'm sure they're going to work out, and on the defensive end especially, that's going to really help them in the long run. I can see that happening because I don't think these guys have way too much like pride in losing. Yeah, I think it's more than what people realize. Um, you know, it's unfortunate, like some of the losses we've had this year, but I mean, I was locked in on, I believe it was Thursday or Friday when they were playing Michigan State, and I was at my wife's birthday dinner, and I had a buddy of mine that was like, "Oh, dude, did you see that? You know, well," I was like, "Yeah, you know, whatever. Just move on next play." And I was like, hey, I got to step away. It's my wife's birthday dinner. Keep me updated. And he's like texting me live updates like it's ESPN. Like, I'm just like looking at my phone. My wife's looking in. She's like, oh, like, it was really cool. But I think to speak to March Madness specifically, like we've got a little bit of time to get it together, and I know these guys will. So I feel like there's a lot of seriousness, there's a lot of focus, and there is a lot of emphasis on these last games, right, as we head into March Madness, and I'm sure that will not change as they reach the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the same thing I would be doing at my wife's birthday party. So she is listening, but I'll probably be in trouble. But uh I guess my next question, we'll dive a little bit into like your post work. I know Derek's son watches this religiously. Like for the younger kids, what drills or like habits that you had helped you develop such a soft touch inside? I watched a highlight reel of you dunking today, and I guess what just gave you that touch to catch, and what helped your footwork being your size?
Yeah, it's funny. I'd always when I was living in Alabama in high school, I didn't really have much to do, so it was pretty much like I was working my job in summers or after school or whatever. I was having practice, but then I would come back in and I would just work. And my head coach, Greg Watkins, all credit to him, like just gave me the key. And he was just like, dude, I'm tired of you asking me. Like, just like go. And just make sure you lock up when you're done. And man, I just spent so much time in the gym. And granted, I was out of shape. I didn't do the right things, but the things I always worked on was hook shot, hook shot, hook shot. But it was always my right hand, right? So I developed that touch and that feel, right? From pretty much anywhere about 12 feet in, um, prior to college. But the problem was, did I have the conditioning to match and the focus to finish through that, right? As you reach a higher tier of players, right, you have to be able to stay in shape, stay focused all the way through the shot, and be ready to take contact, be able to bump and then make the shot, and you're not just by yourself, right?
Right.
So that obviously developed into that. I would say that also Coach Brantley was a huge part of that. Like a lot of post work drills, a lot of footwork drills, a lot of footwork drills through contact, post work drills through contact, being able to finish with both hands, like nonstop, anywhere 12 feet in, right hand or left hand. My left hand was okay. It wasn't necessarily like my best one. That didn't change till after I broke my elbow. Then my left hand became actually my best as I went into my pro career. But yeah, I would just say like the consistency and the focus. I think for me personally, just the way I was raised and my dad, like, give him a lot of credit as a father. Like he told me like no matter how bad things suck, and no matter how like just never stop. Like never be the guy that goes down. Never be the guy that like it's just like even if you're last every time, don't be the guy that says I give up. And there were times where it's like, dude, I want to give up. Yeah, I literally can't work it. I can't make my time. I can't do this. I can't do that. But I would always pick my head up and I would run the next one. Even if I didn't make my time. Even if I had to run 10 more, I would literally just I would never stop. And that was just something that like kind of translated into even if I got my butt kicked in practice like over and over and over again, like I literally would just never stop. And that just continued into professional career. And obviously as you mature and your body starts shaping in, then you start getting faster and stronger and more athletic, blah blah blah. that really pays off on the training end. And then now in the corporate end, that really, that really is translating. I'm starting to see that in the work world. So I would just say it's a mindset. I would say overall, to answer that question, it's a lot of wordy answers, but I would just really say the mindset is the biggest thing, because you can do all the post work, you can do whatever you want, but if you're not locked in, if you're not, hey, I'm gonna get after it with everything I have, even if my 1%, because that's all I have, is there, at least it's something, right? Because I know that I'm getting better in those moments.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if you don't have the mindset, what's the reality of you like developing and really getting better, right? So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And, I'm a big golfer, and so is my son now. And for me, like, golf is less about the game of golf and more, like, for me, about the life lessons it teaches you. And you're kind of like what you're talking about with basketball, helping you out in your career and your life post basketball. Sports have a way of doing that, teaching you lessons that you wouldn't find if you didn't play them. So you kind of answered my next question a little bit already. So I'm going to go to a customer. Hey, look, I'm in the work mindset
Customer
now.
question.
I'm going to go to the one of our fans that watches the show a lot, Blake Widmer. He says, a little off topic, but in a bit personal, if that's okay. How's your sister Erin doing? Is it still a constant battle with the epilepsy? Always admired how she inspired you on a daily grind.
yeah, appreciate you asking that, man. Yeah, she struggles still with that. That's still a daily thing. She still lives at home with my parents. Our dog, the seizure dog Nick, is still he's become more of a lap dog now. My sister kind of stopped using the commands as much, so he's become more of a companion dog. He still nudges her from time to time when he knows it's coming, and he's just getting old now, and Aaron's really attached to him. So I fear what that's gonna look like when he goes. But um, she's doing good. She's at home. She takes her meds. She's got a new medication that's helped her a little bit more. She texts me monthly with updates on whether or not she had a seizure each day throughout the month, because that's like her thing, right? And she really helps everyone in the family like keep their schedules. So that's kind of where her niche is falling in. So it's really great. I coach some like small kids here in Dallas, and I, I had actually my grandparents drove up from Alabama to visit with me, and I told them like, "Hey, I have a game at 5 that I need to be there for." I'm not the head coach or anything. I'm just like on the side, like helping. But I was just having such a great time with my grandparents that I completely forgot to go to this game, and sure enough, everyone was super gracious about it. Like it was totally fine, and obviously they still played the game and they won. But uh, my sister texted me. She's like, "Hey, do you want me to keep track of your next game and make sure you don't miss it?" And I was like, "Actually, I would appreciate that. That would be great." So yeah, she's doing good. Medication is a little bit better as medicine's constantly evolving. Things are getting better for her. Um, it's good. It's good.
Good.
Glad to hear it, man.
That's
Yeah,
for that.
like that story. Blake thinks he's one of our regular watchers, so and he always keeps it real. We actually got to meet him at Mackey. He's from Jamaica, so pretty cool small world moment there. Speaking of small world, you played a little bit overseas, right? In Beijing,
Yep.
and
Yeah, first year was in Guangzhou. It's in the southeastern parts of China, next to a major trade center, Shenzhen. And then that was my first year, and the next 2 years were in Beijing for under Stephon Marbury. So
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
oh, Starbury. Do you have any like crazy stories from your time over there, or like just the culture being different? Anything that would like throw American people for a loop of something they do over there?
Yeah. There's a lot. I would say that I'm trying to be as politically correct as possible. They, I, it was during COVID, so you know, believe what you want to believe, but that over there it was just absolute, utter, complete lockdown, and it didn't stop or anything. Everyone still got COVID, and it was the first time I got it was whatever, and then the second time crushed the doubt after I'd gotten vaccines, whatever. Believe what you want to believe, that's fine. I I saw it on online, and I'm okay with that. But the 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 lockdowns itself was just so insane. Like I felt like I was going insane. Like it was you're just in your room by yourself for a month just to even get into the country. And then you go through another 2-week quarantine in the training facility before you can even touch the court. So you're doing prison workouts, right? And then you're supposed to go touch the court and like go play right away. And so it's just like everyone's just dying, like every single person except the Chinese players, right? Because they're totally fine and we're in a bubble and whatever. But it's just like just this repetition, just the same thing every single day, and it was just you never left the building, and it was just so hard. Is what I'll say. Culture-wise, there's a few things that were really cool over there. Like they really hang out a lot together. Like it's even as professionals, they're almost like teenagers in the basketball world. Like they just how like I don't know if people know this or if they have kids that are in it, but like say you're in a hotel and you book the 6 rooms in a row. They're all back to back. All their doors are going to be open, and they're just going to be walking back and forth, and blah, blah, blah. And that's just them all night until about 3 in the morning, and then we have practice at like 7, right? It was
Yeah.
just stop, and they it's just a lot of drinking, a lot of partying, blah, 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 whatever. That's what they do. I didn't partake in all that. I was very much like, hey, out here to get a job done, so let's get it done. But it was interesting. It was interesting. Some other cultural things like they'll have these like if there's a company that owns the team, right? So sometimes the leaders will come in and they'll host like a big dinner, right? And everyone's at this dinner and whatever, and there is a extreme aura of like all the players, coaches, anyone who's medical can get really quiet and they just get really awkward, and it's very you'd think like the president was literally hosting it. Like it's like insane. And then they're just like laughing, joking, like totally fine, like normal people. But then everyone else is just like, ugh, or, So there's definitely hierarchy there that you just have to pay attention to. Very polite to one another. Very much respect oriented. Like you need to address people with respect over there, or else you will like be gone. And that's just the way it works. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can elaborate more on that. There's a few other stories that are just not appropriate for air. But yeah.
That's okay.
No, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Along those lines, like you kind of mentioned about the culture and the vibe over there, but like, what's something about international basketball that would surprise American fans from like a playing standpoint and stylistic standpoint, and like what makes those games so much different than what we consider to be American basketball or the NBA or college basketball?
Right. I would say that I played in China specifically, right? So that is it's almost like set apart from international basketball. It's almost like a league in and of itself. Think of it as like their own NBA, their own rules, their own stuff. They don't necessarily adhere to all of FIBA rules, but they adhere to most of them. I would say that the biggest surprise for me is there's only one import on the court at a time, unless you're like the last 4 teams in the entire league. The previous year, then you can have technically 6 quarters, or sorry, yes, 6-quarter import time. So, and you can't have 2 imports in the 4th quarter. And so it's a very
Wow.
it's a very odd thing. And so essentially some teams, right, would just go, oh, we're just gonna not put any imports in the 1st quarter. If you're a bottom 14, we're not gonna put any imports in the 1st quarter, and we're just gonna tell these guys to keep it to 10 points minimum. And then for the 2nd and 3rd quarter, we're gonna have both of our imports in, right? And we're gonna absolutely dominate. And then the 4th quarter, we're gonna have 1 import in. And so the substitutions are very import focused, right? And you just be so shocked at how in China they just really are amazed at the difference in the skill level difference in American versus Chinese players. Like it is
Yeah.
extremely shocking. But then with that, you also have the other end where, I mean, it's, not public knowledge, but it is 110% paid for, like every game. And so you're fighting against that, right? And then sometimes like one team will pay a lot more, and then at halftime another team will come in and be like, I'm going to pay this much more, and then the rest will take it, and then you end up winning the game. And
That's
you're
wild.
absolutely shocked at how blatantly obvious it is there. Now, on official air terms, like, no, that never happens, right? But
Right.
saw it. I know. I feel like I saw them
That-
on. It's pretty shocking. But yeah, that's some cultural sports shocks that I saw over there. But you just kind of play through it. You just kind of you learn to not get upset, and you're just like, okay, well, all right, this is just it is what it is, and you just play your hardest and try to get your stats essentially.
Yeah, that's insane. They literally fix games over there. That is, I mean, we talk about it here, like joking around on X and stuff, like all these Big Ten officials are terrible, whatever. But to literally know, and like you can tell when something's set up like that.
Oh, dude, listen, people crap on Big Ten refs. I'm sure that people have had really bad games where they called poorly, or kids just being super disrespectful, or that or a pass is being super disrespectful, and just the guy. I mean, we're all human, right? We all make mistakes. We all unfortunately, sometimes hold grudges. Um, I would take a group of the worst Big Ten refs any day than take what I had over there. Like I would literally let them pummel me like over and over and over again and never call a foul than what I saw over there. Like that's just I think there's a lot to be appreciated in the Big Ten front. Doesn't mean that you're allowed to make really bad calls on purpose or make up calls, right? I understand that there's sometimes like an appeasement factor you have to play in as a ref, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
That's crazy, dude. Uh, yeah, that's unbelievable. So you talked a little bit earlier about being in commercial real estate now. How'd that come about, and what does a typical day look like compared to when you were hooping all the time and ball was life, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. To answer your last little bit, not much. Not much
Yeah.
is changed. Like it's the same grind. They say that your first 2 years are the hardest, right? And so this is my going on my 2nd year. And I was, by the grace of God, like I have been somewhat successful, and way more than the average broker when they first start out. And that's just because of my great team and like the people around me that support me and like just kind of continue to coach me up in this because they really believe in what we're trying to do, and grow the program. Um, my day in the life. I wake up. Previously I was waking up at like 5 a.m. I was in the office at 5:30 type deal. And then I'm prepping out my route for the day, knocking on doors, visiting people, planning what I'm going to do throughout the week and the next week, and getting as much detail as possible. So whenever I'm having these conversations with who I need to, I have everything in front of me, and I'm starting to see the payoff of that payoff. Um, and now it's I feel like just a tiny bit where it's like, okay, I don't necessarily have to wake up at 5 anymore, but now I understand what I'm saying. I understand what I'm doing, and I know the language. I know the financials behind everything. I can have those conversations with the CFO, CEO, and really get into the nitty-gritty aspects of it. Um, and it's starting to pay off. And once again, it's not my doing. It's 110% like God working through me. Like I'm so eternally grateful to Him because I would not be in this position if it wasn't for Him. I got into this. My wife, I was when I retired from pro ball. I moved to Fort Worth, met my now wife, pretty much immediately. Um, and she was just so amazing. And I was doing survey landman work for an oil and gas company, and it just wasn't for me. And my wife at this conference, and some people were trying to hire her. And she was like, no, no, no. But I'll tell you what, you should be my fiance. My fiance is really sticking his word out. I feel like he'd be really successful in the field. And the guy, obviously was like, oh my God, yes, I would love to meet this guy. Met with him, just kind of gave him some life goals and just said like, I've always been like somebody who really tries to get after it and I just don't stop. And I feel like I could do this here, but you tell me. And he was like, "Oh, dude, you're gonna be great." He says, "You go get your real estate license, and I'll hire you as soon as you get it." And I said, "Yes, sir." So he pointed me in the right direction, which school to go to, and ended up getting that pretty quickly. And then within the next month and a half, I was hired and was thrown right into the fire and figured it out as I went.
Let's go.
Yeah,
We're
man.
we're both sales guys too, so not on a commercial real estate level, but we sell as well, so
What do
we
you?
understand the grind. I'm a ready mix salesman for a concrete company, so just selling big projects and stuff like that. And then Derek, I'll let you break it down, brother. Oh, you're muted. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh,
Oh my God. Sorry about that. I'm a failure at life. That's what I sell. I sell failure. No, I work for a small business that sells mini excavator stuff. So, I love the company I work for. I'm in Florida right now, doing something for them. So, you got the fake beach behind you, but I'm not that far from a real one. So,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm living it up.
It's center of Texas right now. I am just like the furthest thing right now from a beach. But I did just get back from Cabo.
Hey,
So
nice.
beach behind me. This was literally last week. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. Got a little bit of a tan,
hell yeah.
uh, but no, that's cool, man. You guys, so you're in the concrete construction, right? So you
Yeah,
know a
yeah,
little industrial platform.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, we just are always bidding big projects up here. I actually we live an hour from Lafayette, so I'm up here in Indiana, braving the cold to sell some mud, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
So
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I love that, man. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the last thing the fans of ours want to hear is about us. So I'm just kidding. Um
that's
when you mentioned you do follow the team now. When you watch them like in today's landscape, what stands out about this team, this program that's evolved since you've been there? A lot of people, former athletes and ones we've talked to have talked about how much Painter's changed, how much he's, kind of softened up a little bit. What do you see as a change in this Purdue program? Obviously, the expectations are through the roof, but what do you see?
That's a loaded question. I would say that, obviously, like, I gotta give credit to my guy PJ. Like, he has taken over the offense and just done a spectacular job with that. So I'm gonna give props to the development program again. Like, I think these guys are just so invested in seeing these guys really good at what they do. And because of that, the program has excelled in that sense. Like, you find these middle, low level guys and you take them and you develop them, right? Into these great players. Like, you look at, like a Kale Swanigan, like, I mean, me, I wasn't even great, but like, you look at, like, I was literally just a big freaking guy and then it just worked. Um, and then you take like a Zach Edey, right? Like, it's just, he was so talented, but when he first got in, like, you wouldn't have thought that, right? And then he
Right.
just, obviously, it's just like this incredible player, and he took anything I had hoped of being and just exceeded that by 1,000 times. So, definitely credit to the development program there. This team specifically, I would say there is it's different because I came in for the Purdue Michigan game, and that was the first time I'd seen us been outsized. And I was like, yo, why is this team bigger than us? Like, I've never seen that. And so that was something that I thought was interesting. But as for Painter, um, man, I wouldn't say he's softened up. I think he's taking a less public stance in the way that he addresses things. Yeah. Okay, I think he did. So I think Painter is always been who he is. Maybe he's, less yell in your face, at the beginning when we were freshmen. But he he's very much merit based, and I respect more. So anything that he does, like, I'm on board with it. Uh, because I just know that he has really good intentions behind what he does. I mean, I heard him the other day on a podcast. I forget when he said, there was a kid who I forget the name who he said, but the kid who it looked like he had messed up really bad, and then he went back and watched the film. He called him into his office and said, "Hey, that was my bad." And I think it takes a lot of humility as a head coach to do that. Like, when you have different kids, especially now with the NIL transfer program, which that's all a different story. I don't want to get into that. That- I I knew that was going to ruin it for. It's just because do I think kids should maybe get money? I don't know if it's like handled properly, maybe, but like, I think it just takes away from the integrity of the game. But that's a different story.
Yeah.
The fact that he's able to
Bingo.
handle with such grace and like, and you see these guys come in, they don't leave. Like, and especially in an environment, a climate like this, that's got to say something, right, about the coach and about the program. So I think there's a lot of hope of integrity to stay in that program, and that, I believe, that's due to Payne and his entire crew that he has around him. Elliot Bloom, uh, um, PJ. I mean, you go down the line, like Sasha, like all of them. Like, you just these guys, they're bought in, they're all in. They want a national championship. They want it. I know that they want that more than they can breathe. And so I think if anyone's being harder on them, take a breath, right? Take a breath. These guys work harder than I know. I mean, I went to the Purdue Michigan game, like I said, and spoke with PJ in the locker room for a, a couple minutes. And he was like, "Man, I would love to hang with you, but dude, I got so much work to do. We got to get after it, man." And I'm just like, I get it, man. You do you. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I can't wait to see you next year. Love you, brother. And then that was the last thing he said. But
That's
Yeah,
awesome, man.
that's definitely something like I think that both of us really admire about Purdue. Like we get to watch guys that we know. Like we feel like we know them. They've been there for 4 years. Whereas some of these programs bring in a new roster every year, and it's like, man, I don't know how. Even the NBA doesn't do that. Like, how are you a fan of that? But last little thing here, and then we'll do some quick hitters and some fan questions and kind of get out of here. But you mentioned PJ, and you played with PJ. Did you know, like back then, that he was going to be a head coach and a great one at that, or an assistant coach or an offensive coordinator or whatever?
You know, hindsight 2020, I would say in the moment, heck no, man, we're just freaking kids. We don't know what we're doing. I think he had so much. I think he just had so much camaraderie, and he was so basketball smart. That I knew he was going to be something in basketball. I didn't know what it was. Now to see him like potentially moving towards like a head coach position, like that is just, man. I will root for him like no matter where he is, and it's just that just such a great human. So
Oh, we're back. Something messed up, Derek. Oh, I think he dropped.
no worries.
No, we're still rolling. We're still live. We can jump into some quick hitters just real quick while we wait on him. Sorry about this, man.
No, you're good.
We've had some crazy. I think his mic switched off when he muted himself. So I'll run you through my list of quick hitters real quick, and then when he jumps back on, he'll run you through his. I guess my question would be if you could take one player from this year's team and move them into one of your teams, who would it be and which team would you add them to?
Gosh, I wouldn't call it a quick hit. So, dang,
Oh,
dude, good one.
that's a toughie. We asked Kramer that same question. He did the same thing.
Oh my god. Trey Carpenter. I think like
Same answer.
I think he's just like that dude just freaking gets after it. Like give that dude, give that guy his flowers. Like that's what I think. I mean, that kid works hard. Not to say anyone else does, but I'm just saying doesn't. I'm saying like I see like his effort and just everything. And I'm just like, man, that kid would have been awesome. I think that would have been
Right.
awesome addition. Now he might have beat me out for some time, but I didn't care about that. I care about winning. About winning. So
Did you do my first question? I'm sorry, I booted myself for a second.
No.
Okay.
Nope. I left it for you.
This was asked by a couple of people in the chat too. Who's the hardest player that you ever guarded, and why that player?
Kaminsky.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I need to necessarily give an explanation.
No.
He could just do it all. And I was a freshman, and he was just absolutely cooking me. So, I think Frank Kaminsky deserves that for sure.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll jump to my next one since we kind of went out of order here. Coffee or energy drinks, or neither?
Cold water.
Cold water.
Cold water.
Ice cold.
Any brand you like the best?
Like brand of water?
Yeah, like bottled water.
I guess like Evian or Mountain Valley. I guess if you get like real fancy, you know.
Okay.
Hey, that's some good water, Isaac.
Yeah.
You know water, man. I'm a water snob now, so
Expensive water. You should drink that as a pro, but I loved it, but it was expensive.
Mountain Valley's that stuff. Who was the best trash talker you played with?
Ooh, I played with?
It can be an opponent too if you want. Whoever you think of in your mind, it just could talk that talk.
You know, it's a tie between my first year in China. It was between my two teammates, my two import teammates, Maurice Spades and Dallas Moore.
Okay.
Like we used to always talk crap to each other, but it was in good fun. Like sometimes, like when you get competitive, like
Oh, yeah.
sometimes. But, most of the time, it was just good fun. I love playing with those guys. So much fun.
That's beautiful. What do you think? What do you think would be scarier on defense? Seeing Zach Edey down low or seeing Carson Edwards pull up from three?
Carson Edwards.
Yeah. Nasty.
It's big guys. I know I know how to handle that. That's fine. When I became a pro, defense was my specialty. I became the guy that was like locked down. Then I just really focused on defense and seeing, man, it's just hard to play against a guard that's just freaking at any moment could drop 30 on you. Like that's just, and they're so freaking shifty, man. And I got shiftier when I left college, but not like that. Some of those guys are insane, man. It's just so hard to keep up.
For sure.
Especially Carson.
Yeah.
We watch his film, man.
That's a bulldog. Like
He's a nut job now.
oh yeah.
What he hit, like he hit 10 threes in one quarter, I think, over there. We were watching one of his games, and I think he hit 10 threes in one quarter. So,
I mean, what do you do?
Nothing.
Like,
You do nothing.
you pray.
Yeah.
You pray, Isaac.
You just hope that those two guys can keep you contained, right?
Yeah. Who do you think is the best defender in the Big Ten right now?
Mm. I can't really speak to other teams because I've only kept up with Purdue. But from my experience of watching Purdue, I really like how Trey plays defense.
Okay.
I really
That's
like
what's
it. It's just very aggressive. It's very like you're not gonna get where you want to get.
Agreed.
I like it.
I can agree with that because Coach Brantley used to always teach us that. It was like when you're on defense and you're playing against the big guy, you never let them get to where they're comfortable. You never let them, you just don't even allow it to happen. It's just like you can hit any other shot you want, but you're not going to hit that shot.
Yeah.
That's sick.
A couple people have asked this too, but I had it on here as well. Best arena atmosphere that you've played in, not named Mackey. If you want to say a Big Ten, and then as well as something maybe you've seen overseas, that'd be great too. But secondary to that, what makes Mackey so great? Just as a follow up to that.
Yeah. That's one. Okay. So that's also something because I love playing Chrysler
Right
Chrysler.
here.
Yeah, Chrysler in Michigan. Love playing there. But I also hated playing in Illinois.
Yeah.
Like the orange and the drum, it gave me a headache. I always left with, and it's just like I hated playing there. So like, I feel like that's equally as like I don't know. That's just me. And then Mackey. What was the question with Mackey?
Just like what makes Mackey different? What makes it special?
Yeah, I would say just like the fans, man. It's so ingrained. Like I came for the Purdue Michigan game, and my wife had been to. We went to the national championship game with me. Obviously that didn't turn out the way we wanted, but then we last year went to the Purdue Indiana game, and that was closer than we would have liked at home,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't quite as like electric, right? And then we went to the Purdue Michigan game, and I said, "This game is going to be jumping." Like now, granted, there was a significant period where it wasn't where we wanted it to be. And the crowd got a little silent, but those first 5 minutes, my wife Elle, she was just like, "Oh my God, I can't hear, I can't think, like, this is insane." I said, "This used to be every single night I played there. Every
Yeah.
single like this." She was like, how do you hear? How do you?" So I think it's just so special, and that's only possible because of the fans.
Yeah.
We love it there. You get to replay one game you played at Purdue. Which one is it?
Ooh. Purdue beating Michigan State at home when Ken Swanigan was that. I think it was my junior year. I believe they were ranked, and we were ranked at the time. That was a fun one, man. That was so much fun. Like, that was so much fun.
Hell yeah.
Everything about that game was just like awesome. Like, I had a great game. Caleb had a great game. Our guards were shooting well, and we won like versus a ranked team at home. And I believe we won by like it was versus Jaren Jackson, I believe.
Yeah.
We won by like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say it was more than 10. I'd have to check on that, but yeah, it felt like it. That's for sure. It was just one of those games where you just like, man, that was an awesome win. Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, let's get to some just rapid fire ones. It's just like a this or that type of situation. We do this with everybody. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
All right. Android or iPhone?
iPhone.
See, Dalton, it continues. You need to get switched, buddy.
Mm.
Do you like
Come on, man.
you prefer a home cooked meal or going out to dinner?
Ooh, home cooked meal for sure.
Especially if it's not like Hot Pockets in the microwave.
Hey, he's from Bama.
Yeah. My wife, like, she works too, so when she gets to cook, I'm like,
Let's go.
yes.
That's beautiful. Texting or a phone call?
Little phone call.
Okay. I think you're in the
Same.
minority in the world now. It's.
Yeah.
I remember my dad used to always get mad at me for texting him all the time, and now I can't get him to answer the phone to save his damn life. So
I used to be a huge texter, and then like now I feel like my parents are like, "Dude, stop calling."
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like flipped. It's done on 180.
I know. It's like, "Hey man, I want to talk to you. What's wrong with that?"
All right, my last one here. Chicken or the egg? Which came first?
Chicken, man.
All right.
Let's go. The chicken for sure. I'll do mine. I think I know this first one. You already kind of went into it. Dogs or cats?
Dogs for sure.
Yep. Pizza or tacos?
You what? Do the burritos count as tacos, or does it have to?
I mean, hey, it's your interview, buddy. You tell me.
Say burritos instead of tacos for
All
sure.
right. That's
For
fair. Would you rather go on a cruise or stay on land and go somewhere like Cabo?
Land, and I would love to. I love going to the mountains, man.
Oh, okay.
Love it.
Mountains?
Big mountain
Isaac
guy.
Haas, the mountain man. That's what
Hey,
we got. This is off the wall. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars, 1,000 times. Yes.
That's what's up. Theme park or a like concert or a show?
Theme park.
Okay.
Theme park.
I'm with you. I love theme parks.
You a coaster guy?
Yeah, definitely. I grew up on Six Flags. Dude, I was like an hour and a half from Six Flags Atlanta.
Atlanta? I've been there.
They still let you get on coasters at your height?
Yeah, I haven't ridden a roller coaster in so long, but there's some memories along. There's some memories along. I will never not be a coaster guy. Yeah.
Can we get an exclusive video the next time you do go on one? Could you do that for us?
You know, honestly, I was just telling my wife the other day, I was like, "Hey, I've never been to the Six Flags in Arlington. Should we go?" She was like, "Heck yeah!" So,
Yes.
all right, cool.
Heck yeah,
So
Go.
you might get one this summer. You never know.
We'll be expecting that.
For sure. Couple last little fan questions here that got asked. Somebody joked, you don't have to answer this, said, does Isaac have any eligibility left? I think the answer to that's probably no, but who knows at this point?
Although with the new NIL rules, I actually had a dream last night that I was playing in a game for Purdue, and I was like sucking horribly because I'm like not nearly in the shape I used to be. So trust me, you don't want me. Trust me.
Blake Widmer again says, does Isaac still hoop in pickup or anything? How has your body handled the wear and tear over the years?
I think I got out pretty early, so my wear and tear is fine. I stretch a lot, I work out a lot of functional body movement stuff, a lot of kettlebell workouts, stretching. Um, just a big. You call me a Rogan guy, whatever it is, with all the kettlebells, you know the deal. Yeah,
My
so
guy.
yeah, man. So I would say it's holding up pretty well, even though I'm cruising at 350 right now. But it's just like, yeah. Hey, man.
Hey, you would
I don't know what
you dominate some Y League basketball. I'm just saying, get on a team and start showing these guys what's up.
I don't know, man. I just like when I retired, I kind of just stopped playing. I was like, man, I'd rather just sit at home with my dogs and my wife.
Hell yeah.
Don't blame
It's
me.
a better life anyway.
Yeah, get workout, maybe hit the treadmill, something like that.
Yeah, I'm a big kettlebell guy myself and Rogan guy, so
Yes, sir. Yes,
that's
sir.
what's up. Yeah.
One of
But you being at 350 is like me being at about 190, so that's my goal right now. So
I'm trying to cut down on this right here. This little side flat laying going. Hey, that's gotta go away. Oh my
it's all those
god!
good dinners.
yeah,
Right?
you can't have it both
Hey,
ways. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, you
Like,
can't.
realize that now. That is a real thing. You gotta be.
Um,
You gotta be
last fan question I have, and then I think there's one in here, Dalton, if you want to read it. Where'd it go? Oh, I am Saluki. He's a big listener too. He said, "What was Big Country's most memorable game at Purdue? If it's that Michigan State game, maybe you already answered it. But if it's not, maybe if you want to go to like your most memorable game in the postseason, that could be great as well."
Definitely the Michigan State game at home junior year. When we beat them, like that was just so much fun. Oh my gosh, I love that game. And then in the postseason, what was my favorite one? Anyone that we won.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nothing really like crazy. I kind of viewed, maybe I should have taken it more into account, but like I viewed all those games as just like it's just another game. It's just another game, and then I have another game after that, and then I'm gonna win this game, and we're gonna win another game after that. And that was for me.
Yeah,
But yeah.
it's fair.
Last question of the night, man, and then we'll get you out of here. We had Purdue Apologist, who's a big follower on X. We're a fan first podcast, if you couldn't tell already, but he asked, will Purdue ever go back to being an offense centered around the 5? I feel like Purdue would always make sure the post player got feeds and touches. Now it seems like the offense is more guard focused.
I think that's development questions. I think right now there's some guys in development that are working on that. It will. It's just historically what we are. Granted, yes, we have had some excellent guards, and I think it's no shortage of props to Painter for that, because to be able to switch from a historically big focus scene to like being able to play with what you have, right? I think that speaks to his person as a coach and how he can actually adapt more than people think.
Yeah.
It's just when you have a system in place, you have things that work and you know that work, and then you don't necessarily have like just the right requirements to fulfill that, right? At times you have to adapt. And so, do I see in the near future Purdue having another dominant big? Of course, absolutely. Like it's not. That's just not a question. I think Painter would not let that not happen. So, yeah.
And he lied. I have one more question on the way out, but I did want to say, we really do appreciate you joining us. Purdue fans loved watching you dominate Mackey, and it's awesome to hear some of these stories behind those teams and just what's going on in your life, and be able to catch up, with a former Purdue player that we all watched play. You always be part of that special era. for Purdue. And we still talk about those teams with you and Carson and Swan again and everybody. So those are fond memories for Purdue fans. So thanks again for coming on. My last question to you is, and I asked this to Chris too, you played when there was a certain group of people that were growing up watching basketball and hoping to be inspired. And what do you want the kids in the stands today to remember, to think of when they think of you? And then at the same token, what do you want that Purdue jersey to mean when kids see it?
Oh, I'll answer that last one first. The Purdue jersey, I want to represent integrity. I want it to represent well-meaning and focus and a work ethic that outmatches everyone. That's what I want it to mean. And for my own last thing, if anyone can ever remember me in the future, which I'm okay if they don't, I would just say, all glory be to God. Like, I have developed such a personal relationship with my Savior, and I get emotional thinking about it. Like, this dude, nothing in my life came to be, and I wouldn't be in this position now if it wasn't for him. And as we are entering into a time of darkness in the world, I think it's especially important to focus on what is coming, on what the light is, and that's Jesus Christ. So that's what I want people to learn and everything for, if any.
That's beautiful, man. Yeah, I was
Amen.
going to ask if you had anything to send us out on, but I think that's a perfect way to end the show, man. Really appreciate you coming on, Dalton. You got anything to say?
Yeah, thanks so much, Isaac. I know that's crazy. You took a message from a random Instagram account, but I'm glad you did, brother. So cool to have you on, man.
Yeah, it's just happened to cross again, and something spoke in me. Holy Spirit spoke in me. I was like, man, you need to answer this one, and I was like, okay, sure.
Hey,
Yeah, glad I did, dude. I had a great time getting to know you guys, and if you ever need anything, just feel free to message me, text me, anything. I'm more than happy to meet you.
Yeah, you heard it here first, guys.
yeah.
God is on the side of Double D's podcast. So
Let's go, Isaac Haas. Thank you for coming on, man.
Appreciate you, man.
We'll see you guys later.
Peace out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.